Handcuff running backs play such an important role in roster building in fantasy football. Sure, they spend most of their time sitting on your bench providing no value to your lineup, but when their starter goes down and they're thrust into the RB1 job, you just got yourself a free starting running back for your team. We saw this last year. How many teams were carried for big chunks of the season by guys like Zach Charbonnet, Tyrone Tracy, Jordan Mason, and Isaac Guerendo? And these guys weren't just startable. They were providing RB1, RB2 performances. And while there's not enough room on your bench to stash every handcuff running back, believe me, I wish there was, I set out to rank my favorites for the 2025 season. Here are my top 7, plus a few honorable mentions, starting with Cardinals running back Trey Benson. Trey Benson remains locked in as the RB2 behind James Conner. That was his role last year, which led to very little playing time due to James Conner having one of his healthiest seasons of his career. He touched the ball just 69 times and played more than 15 snaps in a game just once. However, there were a few indicators that Trey Benson will be good when given a real opportunity. According to PlayerProfiler.com, Trey Benson averaged 3.91 yards created per touch and was top 15 in their true yards per carry metric. Trey Benson is a 216-pound running back with 4.39 speed. He's elusive in the open field and a threat to rip off a long run at any time. If anything were to happen to James Conner, and last year was an outlier for him, we know his injury history, Trey Benson would be a top 24 running back every single week with the upside to break in the top 5 at any moment. My number 6 handcuff running back for the 2025 season is Will Shipley of the Eagles. Will Shipley's role in the Philadelphia offense is barely being discussed. And that's probably because, without a Saquon Barkley injury, it's non-existent. However, Will Shipley is shaping up to be one of the most valuable handcuff running backs in all of fantasy football. He's a good athlete who handled a heavy workload at Clemson, while his strength is in the receiving game. The Eagles let longtime number 2 running back Kenneth Gainwell walk in free agency, which signals they are ready to let Will Shipley slide into that backup job. He showed some flashes as a rookie. He had 65 total yards and caught all 4 of his targets in an expanded role in Week 18. He also got some work in garbage time against the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. He ripped off a run of 16 yards and another of 57 yards before plunging into the end zone on a goal line carry. He's looked good in offseason workouts and only has a dusty A.J. Dillon to fend off for competition. So if Saquon Barkley goes down, it is wheels up for Will Shipley. He's probably looking at about 15 carries a game, plus a majority of the receiving work. His work as a pass catcher might be his best trait. He'll be a mismatch out of the backfield with the ability to run any route from the running back position. When he's carrying the football, he'll have the luxury of running behind one of the NFL's best offensive lines. And we know Saquon Barkley has been anything but the epitome of health during his career. And now he's coming off a season where he played in 20 games and handled 482 touches. It's almost a guarantee that he's going to miss a couple of games in 2025, which would propel Will Shipley into must-start RB2 territory in fantasy football with the upside to be an RB1 in any given week. And given his upside, plus how little attention he's getting from the fantasy community, I'm guessing Will Shipley will be my most rostered handcuff running back in 2025. At number 5, we got Ray Davis of the Bills. Ray Davis proved last year that he's a high-end handcuff with a ton of upside if thrust into a starting role. With James Conner inactive against the Jets in Week 6, Ray Davis totaled 152 total yards on 20 carries and 3 receptions, racking up 18.2 fantasy points. Davis had just one other game with more than a 30% snap share. That came in Week 18 against the Patriots, where he scored as the RB14 on a week where the Bills intentionally lost to block New England from attaining the number 1 overall pick. Yet he still managed a few other weekly finishes of RB22 in Week 7, RB14 in Week 9, RB19 in Week 13, and he was the RB26 in Week 15. That was all with less than a 30% snap share, backing up James Conner. And Davis ended his rookie season with 631 yards from scrimmage on 130 combined carries and receptions. It's clear he would be a must-start in fantasy football if anything were to happen to James Cook. He would slide right into the James Cook role, while Ty Johnson would maintain his passing downs role, which he holds whether Cook is healthy or not. And while a team led by Josh Allen feels like it would be pass-centric, the Bills were actually 9th in rush attempts in 2024 and 1st in rushing touchdowns. So we know there will be plenty of opportunity for Ray Davis to touch the football and score points. He is a league winner if James Cook goes down. At number 4, I've got Jordan Mason of the Vikings. Jordan Mason was last year's handcuff hero for much of the season, playing the RB1 role in San Francisco with Christian McCaffrey out. He ran for 789 yards on 153 carries and 3 touchdowns in 12 games. He was super efficient, averaged 5.2 yards per carry. He was number 10 among running backs in yards after contact per attempt. And according to Next Gen Stats, Jordan Mason's 37.3% forced missed tackle rate led the NFL. An ankle injury ended his season short, but the Vikings saw enough to go out and trade for this guy in the offseason. Now he's in another good offense with a scheme that generates fantasy points with ease, an upgraded offensive line, and an opportunity to earn standalone value behind Aaron Jones. At 5'11", 223 pounds, Jordan Mason will be the thunder in the Vikings backfield. While I do believe this will still mostly be the Aaron Jones show, Jordan Mason still provides massive appeal as one of the league's top handcuff running backs. If anything were to happen to Aaron Jones, and he is in his 30s now, Jordan Mason would immediately slot in as the bell cow and give us a very similar production as he did last year in San Francisco. My number 3 handcuff running back for the 2025 season is Tyler Allgeier. Tyler Allgeier often gets overlooked in the handcuff running back conversation. He's behind a mega stud in Bijan Robinson. He's been around. He's not the flashy new toy. And he's not as explosive, fast, or exciting as some of the other running backs that go in his ADP range. But when you think about it, he is one of the elite handcuff running backs in fantasy football. He's the direct backup to Bijan Robinson with zero competition behind him. If Bijan were to go down, Tyler Allgeier would assume a 20 touch per game role without question. He'd get all the carries, he'd get all the goal line work, and he's good. In a backup role last season, Tyler Allgeier still ran for over 600 yards. He forced 31 missed tackles. He had 9 breakaway runs, and he averaged nearly 5 yards per carry. Remember, back in his rookie season and before the Bijan Robinson days, Tyler Allgeier ran for over 1,000 yards on just 210 carries while stacking 5 100-yard performances. He should be considered a high-end handcuff in fantasy football. If anything were to happen to Bijan Robinson, Tyler Allgeier would take on a full bell cow workload in a run-heavy Falcons offense. He would be a lock to finish as a top 24 running back every single week with the upside to be an RB1. Taking the number 2 spot is Zach Charbonnet. Zach Charbonnet was living proof of why we stash handcuff running backs last season. In the 6 games at which Kenneth Walker missed, Zach Charbonnet averaged 19.2 fantasy points per game. He finished outside the top 20 running backs just one time. That included finishes of RB8, RB7, and RB1 overall. He was an absolute bell cow, taking nearly all of the backfield touches in those 6 games, but he didn't get by on just pure volume. He was efficient. Zach Charbonnet ranked top 10 in yards created per touch. He was 7th in evaded tackles per touch, 11th in fantasy points per opportunity, while averaging 3.35 yards after contact per attempt. And while he's built like a grinder, Zach Charbonnet is an impressive pass catcher as well. He has a combined 75 receptions over his first 2 NFL seasons, which have been spent mostly backing up Kenneth Walker. That included 19 in the 6 games Walker was out in 2024. Zach Charbonnet will continue to operate as the clear number 2 behind Kenneth Walker in 2025, though he may lose a few touches to rookie Damian Martinez, but he will absolutely be one of the few elite handcuff stashes in fantasy football once again. Behind a starter who misses games every season, you're going to want to have Zach Charbonnet sitting on your bench whenever Kenneth Walker goes down. He'll be an instant staple in your lineup. And the number 1 handcuff running back that you need to stash for the 2025 season is Isaac Guerendo of the San Francisco 49ers. Given Christian McCaffrey's long injury history, Isaac Guerendo is easily one of the most valuable handcuff running backs in fantasy football. Running backs seem to always produce in the Kyle Shanahan offense, especially those who are 221 pounds with 4.33 speed. We saw Isaac Guerendo have success last year when he was thrust into the lineup due to McCaffrey and Jordan Mason injuries. In the 4 games that he received more than 50% of the snaps, Isaac Guerendo averaged 18 fantasy points. He finished those weeks as the RB10, the RB2, RB25, and the RB11. And for the season, he averaged 5 yards per carry. And he was number 6 among all running backs in yards per touch. This is a good running back. He's big, he's explosive, and he's got the speed to break off long runs at any time. The 49ers saw enough to feel comfortable trading away Jordan Mason and rolling with Isaac Guerendo and rookie Jordan James, backing up a fragile Christian McCaffrey. If anything happens to Christian McCaffrey, Isaac Guerendo is going to get a ton of touches. And with far more upside than Jordan Mason, Isaac Guerendo could become a true league winner. So those are my top 7 handcuff running backs for the 2025 season. Let me give you a few more real quick. Let's go rapid fire. At number 8, we got DJ Giddens, Colts rookie. Sounds like he's already beating out veterans Khalil Herbert and Tyler Goodson in camp. He's an explosive playmaker with a 3-down skill set and would be a fantasy starter if Jonathan Taylor went down. At number 9, I got Rachaad White. Rachaad White lost his job to Bucky Irving at the end of last season, but his receiving ability and all-purpose skill set would still make him extremely valuable if he was thrust back into the RB1 job if Bucky Irving were to go down. He'd split with Sean Tucker, but the receiving chops would make him the preferred running back. And don't forget, he was a top 10 running back in fantasy football just 2 years ago. And at number 10, I got Roschon Johnson. Roschon Johnson could wind up being the David Montgomery in the Bears offense and have some standalone value. But assuming he's the pure handcuff to DeAndre Swift, he carries a lot of contingent upside in the case of a DeAndre Swift injury. It's an improved offense, a massively upgraded offensive line with a ton of touchdown opportunities. Roschon Johnson has an all-purpose skill set that would translate well to a bell cow role. Those are my handcuff running back rankings for the 2025 season. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Who missed the list that you would add? Who would you take off the list? Who are you prioritizing? Let me know. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're pumping out content like this all summer long. And if you want more from me, you can find everything you need at yardsperfantasy.com. Rankings, articles, tools, resources. Check us out.